All right, so let's have some fun with this topic. Here's one we can discuss. I'd love to hear your opinion, and it's based on whether a high school football player can make the jump to the NFL successfully. Now, this was a conversation I was having with the gentleman had suggested they could go to the XFL, and I said, nah, they can't do that. I do not believe a high school football player could make the jump to the NFL, and here's some of the reasons why. And I always say it's based on my experience, 9 years in the NFL. I was on 4 teams. I saw a lot of players come and go. First, I would say is the physical development aspect. You know, a 17, 18-year-old football player is not physically developed. They're not physically matured yet. My senior year, I was the #1 wide receiver in the state of Oregon. I was 133 pounds. And I'm sure a lot of you on here can attest to your weight was a lot lighter, a lot smaller when you were seniors in high school. And so these young ones, they're still developing. I saw a study that talked about how the top quarterbacks in the NFL, based on an average, they would need to gain at least 20 pounds, be 20 pounds bigger based on their senior year to be where physically they would need to be to play in the NFL. Now, I know I've seen some big high school football players, some big running backs. I've seen some big linemen. But are they really big, physically matured to the point where they are strong enough to play against men? Second reason I would say is I think a 17, 18-year-old would struggle with adapting to the speed of the game. The speed of the game, when you look at it from high school, then he goes to college, then the jump from college to NFL, it is so much faster. And you have a 17, 18-year-old who was the star on their team, dominated in their league. Now all of a sudden they're going to the NFL where everybody's a great athlete. Everybody has the physical tools and the mental tools, and they are hungry. And these guys are playing for their job. This is their job, how they play or how they take care of their family. And that high school athlete would also see that it isn't always just about athleticism. That's where the experience and the technique plays a role as well. So there's that learning curve. How would they adjust to that? And then the #1 reason for me that I think that they would struggle with this jump is the mental part. Could they play with the extreme pressure that the NFL demands? This is one of the things I did not like. Probably the #1 thing I did not like about the NFL was the constant pressure you're under to play at your best all the time. Off-season, training camp, practice, games, film session, 24/7. It's pressure, pressure, pressure. And I saw so many athletes struggle with that. And they couldn't mentally push through that. And these are the ones who did not make it. But the ones who could push through that went on, but it was every single day. You had to be able to overcome it. I don't think a 17-year, 18-year-old who is only pressure, what pressure have they had? Living with their parents, no real responsibilities, no real pressure. All of a sudden, you're going to put them in that arena? No, I think there's going to be a serious mental breakdown. Now, I said all that to say this, though. I think it's going to happen at some point. It's going to happen at some point. Someone's going to challenge that rule again. I think it was Maurice Claret and someone else challenged the NFL rule that you could not enter a draft unless you're 3 years out of high school. They're going to challenge it. They're going to win at some point. Because, one, they're going to claim that it's a way of making a living. You can't stop me from making a living, But also, too, I read this study that talked about how a lot of parents today are delaying when they allow their children to start kindergarten. So they are now, a year behind, but they're more physically and emotionally and mentally mature by the time they're high school seniors. It also talked about how the average high school seniors age back when I played was 17, 18. Now it's like 18, 19. And there's some ones that are turning 20 that summer. So it's going to happen at some point. But if I was to say, hey, who I think could have a shot, maybe right now, I'd say maybe a big, fast, strong, cocky, athletic running back who's got the right mindset. Maybe a kicker, good high school kicker. But then it raises the question again, could that kicker kick under pressure? And we see the kind of pressure NFL kickers have to deal with. But if they brought a high school athlete in and let him sit on the practice squad for maybe 2 years allow them to use that time to develop, to learn and grow, and not have to deal with the pressure. I was on the practice squad my first year with the Browns, and when I got into the NFL, I didn't think I could play in the NFL. That year, though, built that confidence that I needed, and I learned and I grew, and that's what really played a role in me playing as long as I did. So those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear what you think. So do you think a high school football player could successfully make the jump to the NFL, and why?